Every small business marketer has efforts that don't go as planned, whether it's a campaign that flops, an ad that falls flat, or a promotion nobody responds to. But what if those failures were actually the stepping stones to a successful marketing future? In this episode, we reframe failure as one of the most valuable tools in your marketing kit. You'll hear how mistakes reveal insights, why missteps can lead to sharper strategies, and some examples of learning lessons that lead to a brighter future. He'll provide some, and I will provide some from my vast experience of failure in business. And like I said, that kind of led to here today. If you've ever felt discouraged by a marketing failure, this conversation will show you how those moments are not to be as wasted effort, but as raw material for future successes. I've told you before, if you've listened to many of these, and some of you have listened to all of these, we're on episode 76. What is beginning to appear is kind of a Matt Hansen philosophy about your not just marketing, but your business holistically. And part of that comes from having 26 years of marketing failures. Is that, I mean, that's how long.
I wouldn't call them all failures, but yeah, no, there's been many failures through the years. And, you mentioned 3 decades. I'm sitting here reminiscing about, I think it was 1996 when I first, literally coded my first website. So, been doing this a while. And when you do something for a long time, there are a variety of failures that you're going to go through. And most people won't do something because they think they're going to fail, right? But today I want to kind of cover a few stories that I've, through the years, things I thought I knew better or things that I got into and I failed and I learned from them. But I think there's some good lessons in this. So over the next 20 minutes and what we're going to talk about, I've got some stories for you, and I'll take you down the path and how a cocky young Matt Hansen thought he was the best, and life really will smack you across the face every once in a while and tell you to wake up.
He teaches classes here. I took them on my way to an MBA. That's how this all started, and I know some of these stories, and I would love to hear them again. And one of them involves 850,000 an 850,000 piece mailing going out. Let's start with that.
Yeah, so I walked in. I used to work for a magazine, and they used to do a lot of direct mail, and they would sell an ancillary product. And I walked in on day one, and they set me down, and they said, "Okay, your first job is to do this 850,000 piece direct mailer." And they handed me what they called a control mailer. And now I'm coming out of school, I'm thinking, okay, what is this thing that you're handing me? I don't know how to do a direct mailer, but I know, I'm cocky, I'm coming out of school, I know better, I can make this thing great. So they hand me this 8-page direct mailer, right? It looks like a letter, tons and tons of text, there's no images whatsoever, it's black and white, it's ugly, it's like I look at this thing and I'm just like, what is this? This is awful. And they said, well, that's our control piece, so you're going to send half of the lists get this piece, and then you have to come up with something new, right? So we're going to do a simple A/B test. We have our control, and then we're going to do something new.
So A/B test is the number one thing in a Matt Hansen class. It all the way down to all right, send out an email with this lead line, and then set out an email with that one, and see which one gets opened more. It's pretty simple stuff.
Just you're basically making one little change. But with this, I took it to the next level. I'm like, I got this. I walked around the hallway, down the corner to the art department, introduced myself to the two Tonys and Maggie, and they were great people. And we started sitting down with them, like, we've got to spice this thing up. Who wants to look at this black and white 8-page? Just this. It's a monstrosity, right? So I go in there and I write this 1-page letter, and I add color, and there's images, and it's this gorgeous little piece, and I'm like, this thing's going to kill. I don't know who's been doing this marketing for years. Like, this is awful, right? So we get it all together. We have the same offers. The only difference is we have an 8-pager versus a 1-page, very pretty kind of piece of paper that's going out with this. Results come in. I absolutely got destroyed on this, right? So the normal one produced what it normally produces. Mine maybe got a quarter of what the control was getting. And it was funny because my boss took me back and she's like, okay, what did we learn? I'm like, well, one, I don't know what I'm doing. And two, I have to understand the target audience a little bit better. And she's like, exactly. So the 8 pages was an educational resource to help them understand what they were getting. I was trying to think that, all right, they already know what this is, all this other stuff. And I'm not realizing that in this space, people want to know as much information as possible, right? So this is, back then it was the infancy of online trading and all of this other stuff. And it was funny because it was a wake up moment that maybe I should just close my mouth every once in a while and start to listen a little bit more to those that are around me that have been doing this more often. So I guess the life lesson of this is you may think you know what's right in every situation, and people may come in and tell you, oh, you need to do it this way, but in reality what you need to do is just shut up and listen every once in a while to your customer base to understand what their pain points are, what their needs are, what their wants are. And that's kind of the way that I approach everything that I do from a consulting side, is where I walk in and we'll have like a 3-hour conversation off the clock. And I'll just say, I just want to know what we're dealing with here. Because if I don't understand what we're dealing with, what you've done in the past, who your customer is, let's understand all of this. I won't sign on to say, I can help you. I need to understand that before I can say what I can do. And many people will come in and they'll be like, all right, you got to do it this way and this way. And it's that cookie cutter mentality. And, I tried to take that same mentality of well, I know what works on me. Well, I wasn't the target audience for this, right? I wasn't trading back then. I didn't understand really even what I was selling. I had to dive into it a little bit more. I didn't understand who the consumer was. But when I started to sit down with Gary, who was our inside sales manager, and start to understand what are the questions that people are asking when they call, what are all these different things, that's when it clicked. And I went, okay, I need to shut up once in a while and just listen. And that was a really interesting first lesson that I got coming out of the gate, that I think can be applied over and over and over again in marketing.
Well, talk about the philosophy there. I mean, it's very difficult to accept failure and get to the moment of confidence. I actually do a podcast after this, and it's called Limb Walkers, and I'll promo that. And it's a guy who's 74 years old, and he's made a lot of mistakes in his life, and we talk about, and he has that same philosophy. Just make the mistake. Don't worry about it. And learn from it, and then do something different, or keep going at it. Maybe just tweak one minor thing. But mentally, as a small to medium-sized business owner, you're like, well, I know everything about my product, and I know what people want. So I know, even though I know how to make my product, and I know how to work in the store, and I know how to deal with customers, I know what marketing works. And then all of a sudden, they try to do something a little bit outside of their area, and they fail at it. What does that do to that small and medium-sized business owner mentally and emotionally?
I hear it all the time. It doesn't work. Doesn't work. I tried it. It doesn't work. And what I say is, you tried it, but did you really try it? Did you really understand it? Do you really dive into it, right? So I hear it all the time. I did some Facebook ads. They didn't work. Well, why didn't they work? Let's break it down what you did. I ran some Google ads. They didn't work. Well, what were the keywords? What was the landing page? What was the offer? You have to understand all the bits and pieces of it, right? So, the first time that you rode a bike, you didn't just jump on the bike and take off, right? You had to understand, okay, well, there's this whole, I have to pedal. I have to hold on to the handlebars. I have to balance, right? We take the training wheels off, and now I'm falling, okay? Most of us fell in one direction, right? Because we lean one way or the other. I have to start, if I'm falling or if I'm starting to lean to one side, if I give more acceleration, does that help me stay up? upright. Like we learn all of these intricate little things just in learning how to ride a bike, but we will tell you that the first time that I jumped on the bike and I fell over, it doesn't work. And that's what we say about Facebook or Google or any of these other things. So, we have to fail. You are an entrepreneur. Even if you're just in marketing, running marketing for a company, you are an entrepreneur because you are trying new things and you're trying to generate sales. And you say, it's like if you're not failing, then you're not listening to this podcast anyway, right? Because the only reason you're listening to this podcast is you're not where you want to be, right? So if you have 50 stores out there that are selling $5 million every single year, you're probably not listening to this podcast in the first place, which is fine. Good for you. Congratulations. You figured it all out. But what we're probably talking to is somebody that I need a little bit of help. I'm not quite sure where to go. I have all these ideas that I want to do. And that's what we're here for, is to literally talk you through that process of try one thing and one thing only, learn all the intricate details of it. And if it doesn't work, there's a reason it's not working. It's not that the platform doesn't work. It's the fact that you haven't figured out what works yet. And failure is the number one thing from an entrepreneur standpoint. If you're not failing, you're not learning. Like if you go through your day every single day and everything works out for you, okay, congratulations, you have plateaued. You are not going up any higher, right? So every year there's new things that I'm always trying, new things I'm always learning, and I fail every single time, right? Like we're on, what is this, episode 76. Last week I was laughing. I'm like, man, I can't even do the intro without stumbling over a couple words, right? And
how'd that go, by the way?
It wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. You'll have to
wait a second. We have Adriana Alvarez. She runs the WJOB Podcast Network.
Tell them it was fabulous.
And if you want a podcast, Adriana at WJOB1230.com. I was gone last week. How do you do?
He did very well. Yeah, the conversation that they had was very good. They went a little longer, but it was just good conversation.
It was good conversation. What can I say?
Yeah.
You know the rules.
I had Ozzy on, and she's awesome. So we talked for a while.
So he hosted, but was he stumbling over his words in the beginning and a little nervous? And, he just...
No, because we re-recorded, so we cut those out.
Yeah.
Oh.
See, we're good.
What, you did it live, right?
No, we recorded it.
No,
oh,
you
big baby. What a baby. That, to me... Hey, don't allow that next time.
What?
Just tell him we're doing it live on the radio, and he'll get better and won't stumble as much. How's
you guys
that
are
sound?
already good. You're fine.
Hey, give us another. Hey, let's go through the Matt Hansen Hall of Fame of Failures.
Hall of Fame of Failures. Well, we talked.
Give us another.
Yeah, we talked last time about the online company that we had and the inventory issues that we were doing, and it was funny because, again, cocky Matt Hansen comes out of the gate. Somebody tells me, oh, well, there's this other company out there that sells millions of dollars in this one brand, and they only do it in like a 3 to 4 month time frame. I'm like, oh, I got them. No problem, right? Like, starting from scratch, somebody gives me the challenge, we're going to sell $3 million, right? Okay, I'm in. Well, I ordered inventory like we were going to spend or going to sell $3 million, right? And had all of these systems and all this stuff set up, like pre-orders that I hadn't taken ownership of it. They haven't shipped yet. And what is funny is you quickly realize, like, there's only so much time in a day to set up a business and get things going. And it takes time. I mean, this company had been around for years and all this other stuff, right? We did really well. Did we get $3 million the first year? No. Not even close, right? But, again, going back to the last episode, we had inventory that sat on the shelves, and I started figuring it out like, oh, this is not good. So I actually pivoted and used eBay as an alternative to liquidate inventory that wasn't selling, right? So, okay, I'll take a hit on the price or whatever, maybe even sell it for, the cost that we put into it, right? But, it was funny because the failure of that made me realize that inventory management is key to understanding that it takes time to grow something. And then 3, we found alternative ways to sell products. So we used to do like $10,000 just in eBay sales of other stuff that we would find. So like, we would find leftovers or, what they call crate sales of inventory that this company would take back, and we would buy it and then just churn it to eBay, and we'd make, an additional, we were making $120,000 a year just off of eBay sales based on this stuff, right? So it showed us opportunity. We realized the inventory issues. We realized we weren't going to grow as fast as possible, but we also found new opportunities based on some of the flubs that we had and things that were sitting around.
So let's talk about another one. And he brings this up in his digital marketing classes. And I hated this part of it. I really did, because now it drives my business and how I talk to these guys. Yes, but what does the customer want? What does the customer want? Well, I told the customer this, and it's like, no, you need to tell the customer in a different way and in a different visit why that's not the case. In other words, the customer and what they're telling you is like gold. And that even though you have a great product and you know the product and you know what people want, you can't just extrapolate from you. You have to go and talk to what the customer wants. Yeah. And you have a pretty good example of putting the product before customer, and I love this one.
So I would say probably 9-10 years ago, I was part of a team that acquired you're familiar with Groupon. So it was a Groupon-like website that focused on coupons for local businesses, right? So we inherited, it wasn't like, oh, let's go build this system and see how this all works. It was we inherited the website and all the back-end coding that had already been developed. So you basically had this sign-up form. You could put your information in there. It would show you how many coupons were redeemed and all this other stuff. And we were out there. We put a sales team together, and we're going out there and selling it. And kind of the way we did it was it was a little bit different. It was a mixture of Groupon meets Craigslist. So we had the Craigslist type areas, right? So with ours, it would be Chicago, and then you could dive down into Northwest Indiana and all this other stuff. But you could search it by the town that you were in. So, we're in Hammond right now. So you could click Hammond and you would see all the businesses that were, providing coupons for the Hammond area. So we had this, and it was great. But then, you start talking to individual companies, and they're like, okay, what is this? And we're like, well, it's a coupon site, so local people can go pull a coupon. And they're like, why would I want that? And we're like, well, to drive new business. And I'm like, I can see new business, but what stops people from just going and getting a coupon every time? So what we found out was, the oil change places loved it because everyone goes to get a coupon for an oil change, or a car wash place. Those people loved it, but everybody else is like, I don't really get it. Why? I have no control over it. I don't. And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, this is just going to blow up bad. I can see it already. And, then we start talking about, okay, well, do we need to modify the code? And I started getting into some serious coding on this website, and because I was the only one that understood coding. I'm like, what am I doing this for? Why am I spending so much time on this for the customer base is looking at it going, it's fine. It's not really, I get it, but you want to sell me this advertising opportunity to put free coupons out there to drive traffic. I don't get it, right? And it was funny because it wasn't my baby. It wasn't somebody had come to me and said basically we have this opportunity. Do you want to go in on it? We need you for the coding side and the strategy side, but we don't really have a lot of insights as to how we can modify it to the customer needs. And I'm like, okay, So again, we got into it as a product system. Instead of looking at it from the customer standpoint, we didn't have any conversation with them before we acquired it, and I'm just like, oh, this is going to end badly.
Well, I mean, we're in a commercialization center, and some people are going for funding, and they're trying to get it out of professional VCs. And I see people in there, and all they're doing is calling either existing customers or possible customers and trying to get all this information. I mean, some of the funders want 20 customer interviews, and they have to put them all in there. And what did the customer say? What did the customer say? What did the customer say? Because statistically, the most successful companies are the ones that concentrate fully on the customer.
Yeah.
And one part of that is the relationship with those customers. Like, not only are you listening to them, you're trying to build the relationship, and you're trying to build a brand that is basically saying that I am customer based. Do you have a story about that also?
Oh, I can tell you. I mean, I can tell you a million stories.
I know,
right? But
this will work everywhere, right? That is the worst.
it's the worst. Yeah. No, I mean, if you don't understand your customers, I mean, you're dead in the water, to be honest with you. I mean, you have got to understand every single thing about them, right? So you guys are talking about how your last podcast, you're talking about how, Sam's going out and pitching and all this other stuff, right? So I'm watching pitches all the time from companies, not only from a marketing standpoint, but from an entrepreneurial standpoint, because just the things that I'm involved in.
He was one of the hosts of a pitch series over here at the Sales Lab. Are you still running Sales Lab?
Yeah, I oversee the lab I call it, I'm the landlord of the
Yeah,
Sales
so they have
Lab.
brought in a bunch of people pitching their products, and everyone but us got funded because they told us to come back. We want to fund you at a much higher level, and we all know how that went. But you are hearing a lot of these pitches.
Right. I hear them constantly. So I was kind of laughing because I heard a bunch of things last night from, this little cohort that was going through. And then I go home. My wife is watching Shark Tank. And I can't get away from it, right? But it's interesting to me because I continue to hear these pitches over and over and over. And it's the same thing every single time. Because somebody has an idea, they've built something, but then you start to ask the questions from the customer standpoint. And many of them will have the answers. They've done their research. But I've heard some pretty elaborate pitches in the past, and I'm like, I just don't get it. And they'll go, what do you not get? And I go, well, let me ask the questions, right? And it's this and this and this.
It's always, what is the problem?
Yeah.
And you don't know the problem until you talk to the customer.
Right. So, again, I was listening to something online yesterday, and they were talking about they were little lights that you put on your fingertips, right? And they were for clubs and things like that. And the guy was talking about how instead of just selling them at clubs for raves and all this other stuff, they noticed that their e-commerce brand or e-commerce platform was selling a lot to plumbers. So they're selling like 500 of these things to plumbers. Well, if you've ever done plumbing, and I've done plenty of plumbing in my past.
Sprinkler company. I had a lawn sprinkler company. Instead of, you're like, oh my gosh, I could spend $400 or I could sweat this pipe myself.
Yeah.
You learn how to sweat pipe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I put in a brand new sink fixture in our kitchen, and we have a double sink that drops down pretty low, and I'm laying with my back on, in the actual cabinet trying to get all this stuff off, and it's rusted because it was leaking and whatever else, and I can't see. Right, so I'm holding a flashlight in my mouth. I've got tools in my hands, and it's kind of this whole thing. So what he was basically saying is he never would have uncovered it, but plumbers put them on their fingers for tight spots so they can actually see what they're doing with their hands instead of having to hold a flashlight in their mouth. Wow, okay, got it, right? They had some kind of little glow ball that they said basically you could use it as a golf ball, but it was used again in these clubs and whatever else. But people were using it for Halloween costumes and all. They were uncovering all these new ways to sell their product that they would have never thought about unless the customer had told them. So I think that's the interesting part. Most people think they know something, and what they don't realize is the customer will tell you otherwise, and if you listen long enough, you'll uncover these things. But
that's another part of the Mad Hansen philosophy that's difficult. I hated it. I'm like, I know my business. I know radio. I know advertising. I know now it's sports streaming video. Nobody knows that. It's brand new, but I'm like, I know it. We're leaders in the field, and you almost have to get past your own overconfidence.
Yeah. Yeah, just you need somebody to come in and poke holes in it. And that's always, it's refreshing, but it's frustrating at the same time because here's another example of, again, we have this one thing that we do, and we do it phenomenally, like just phenomenal job with it. And I said, well, it works here, it should work everywhere. And thousands of dollars later, we realized, oh, we got a little too cocky there. And we realized, like, we need to really look at this because, one, they don't know who we are. Two, they don't know what the product is. And three, we're just treating it like everything else. And we tested some things and we realized we're not going to waste the money. We're going to stop. Let's pivot. Let's look at this. And it's funny because, like, that was last year. And so even today, we make mistakes, or I make mistakes, because I look at things and I'm like, all right, let's try it, right? Let's test it. Let's fail at it. And then we realize, okay, well, that didn't work because of XYZ. So now how do we fix XYZ? Or do we need to pivot to a different way? And that has actually, that one little failure has allowed us to look at our P&L and what we're doing on this project. And we're going to hit our goal, our 5-year goal in 2 years based on that one little failure that we had. It repositioned the way we looked at things. And now we're actually moving forward. We're actually ahead of the game instead of where we thought we would be.
Episode 76, Marketing Failures That Lead to Success. Thank you, Matt Hansen.
Thank you.
And thank you for listening. Please like us anywhere you get your Facebooks. If you're listening live on WJOB or watching on WJOB 1230 on YouTube, we appreciate that also. And until next time, we will see you later.